This one is for all those who are winning silently. Winning with the world is easy, but winning with yourself is the real battle. Think about those moments when life feels heavy. Not because something bad has happened, but because something might happen. A message that has not come yet. An exam result that is not declared. A relationship that feels uncertain. Nothing is actually wrong. Still, the mind feels tight and uncomfortable. That tight feeling does not come from the situation. It comes from what the mind is holding on to. More than 2,000 years ago, Buddha was not teaching religion. He was simply observing the human mind. He was trying to understand suffering. Not physical pain, but mental suffering. The kind that exists even when life looks normal. What he noticed was simple, but difficult to accept. We do not suffer because life is hard. We suffer because the mind clings. Buddha called this attachment. Attachment is not love. It is not ambition. It is not care. Attachment is when the mind says, I need this to happen in a certain way for me to be okay. Attachment often hides as care. It sounds responsible. It feels like love. That's why it is hard to notice. The mind does not say, I am afraid. It says, I care deeply. And slowly, fear disguises itself as concern. The first place attachment appears is comfort. The mind wants things to feel good, easy, pleasant. So when boredom comes, we immediately look for distraction. Phone, noise, something to escape silence. Not because we are addicted, but because discomfort feels unsafe. Pleasure itself is not a problem. But when the mind depends on comfort, restlessness begins. Then attachment moves to the future. Outcomes. This must work. This effort must give results. This relationship must last. Slowly, the future stops being open. It becomes a demand. And the mind starts living where it has no control. This is where anxiety starts. Not because the future is bad, but because the mind cannot accept uncertainty. Then attachment becomes personal. Identity. Success is no longer something you do. It becomes who you are. Failure is no longer feedback. It feels like danger. One comment hurts deeply. One mistake feels big. Judgment becomes unbearable. Because now, it is not the situation being judged. It feels like you are being judged. When identity is attached, every moment feels like an exam. The most hidden attachment is attachment to beliefs, opinions, views, stories we tell ourselves. Being right feels safe. Not knowing feels uncomfortable. So the mind defends ideas even when it creates conflict. Not to win, but to feel stable. Comfort, outcomes, identity, beliefs. Different forms, but the same root. The mind holding on. Buddha never said, stop wanting things. He never said, force yourself to let go. He noticed something very clear. The tighter the mind holds, the more it suffers. And when this is seen clearly, the grip slowly becomes loose. Not by force, by understanding. So how does attachment actually reduce? Not by fighting it, but by noticing it. When you see attachment clearly, without judging yourself, it already becomes weaker. When experiences are not treated as identity, pressure reduces. When change is allowed instead of resisted, fear becomes less. And when you care without demanding a result, the mind feels lighter. Freedom is not something you achieve. It appears when misunderstanding ends. Modern life makes attachment stronger. We are always comparing, always being judged, always stimulated. Comfort is everywhere. Results are tracked. Identity is public. Opinions are challenged daily. So the mind rarely gets rest. What Buddha showed was not one problem, but one pattern. We attach to comfort, and restlessness starts. We attach to outcomes, and uncertainty becomes anxiety. We attach to identity, and life feels like constant judgment. We attach to beliefs, and understanding stops. Different forms, same root. The tighter the mind holds, the heavier life feels. And the clearer this is seen, the lighter the mind becomes. Buddha was not teaching people to escape life. He was teaching them to see life clearly. When attachment reduces, life does not disappear. But fear becomes less. Pressure becomes less. Decisions become clearer. Not because the world changes, but because the grip changes. This was not a religious message. It was a psychological observation. Suffering does not come from life itself. It comes from what the mind refuses to release. Win with yourself. Everything else follows.